I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. We have a ton of people on the call, so I want to make sure that we get started around 12, and we've waited 4 minutes. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to welcome you to this special webinar where we're going to be diving into Inflow's powerful facilities management tool. It's designed specifically for the hospitality industry. And our facilities management tool streamlines the entire maintenance process from work order creation and preventative maintenance to reporting and accountability. During today's session, we'll walk you through the key features of the tool, show you how to integrate it seamlessly with your existing Inflow platform, and also demonstrate how it helps you stay on top of your maintenance tasks, improve response times, and extend asset life. I'm one of your hosts, Katie O'Han. I'm a customer success manager here. Nice to meet you all for those who I don't work with on a day-to-day basis. And then also joining us, our main host for today's session, Maria. She is our product manager for facilities management, and she will be leading the live demo. And then we will have a Q&A portion at the end of the call. So again, feel free to type in any questions you have throughout the meeting, and we'll ensure that they're answered during that allotted time towards the end. Without further ado, Maria, I will hand it over to you to get us started.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to start with the big picture. So hotels face constant pressure to keep properties running smoothly while keeping your guests happy as well. Without the right tools, maintenance kind of feels a little bit like chaos. There's lost work orders, missed preventative checks, costly repairs. Inflow Facilities Management is designed specifically for how hotels operate. It's built for the field and loved by the back office. So before we get started talking about the features and how this works, we'd love to just know what your role is and be able to understand kind of how to talk to you about this a little bit better.
Still looks like we have some responses coming in, so I'll hold off on showing the results for a minute or two. Not a minute or two, a few seconds. Roar is an assistant general manager of the Hilton Garden Inn. All right, I'll go ahead and show the results.
Perfect. So we've got a lot of kind of ops folks and owners in here today. I think that the overview that we're going to show you is going to be really helpful here, and hopefully we can answer some of your questions if you have any by the end. So here's what Facilities is going to deliver right away. We're going to give you alerts and notifications to keep everybody aligned. We're going to give you automated preventative maintenance schedules so nothing slips through the cracks. We've delivered this with a mobile-first mindset so staff can log in and complete tasks on the go without having to go back to a desk and get on a computer. We're putting out work order tracking from open to resolved, no more lost tickets, forgotten items and tasks, and real-time reporting for trends in asset health and performance, and just keeping track of compliance throughout your property. So one point I really want to talk through here is proactive task management. We want to help you stay ahead of repairs and keep your guests happy. When your property stays proactive, the impact is real. You're going to have faster resolution, better guest reviews, fewer emergencies. Staff are going to be able to log work orders instantly from their phone. It only takes a few seconds. Issues are going to be caught before guests even notice. That's the plan. Managers are also going to be able to track asset performance to avoid costly surprises and emergency breakdowns, keep an eye on when it's time to replace, or if certain assets have more issues than others, and just to be able to proactively take care of things on a day-to-day basis. So we talked a little bit about work orders, preventative maintenance schedules, asset management. Those are the big features that we're launching with to start. There's a lot more to come that I'll talk through soon. But of those features, we've got another poll for you. Which feature would you use first if you had facilities management on your property today? Answers are still coming in, so I'll give it another few seconds. So looks like it's pretty evenly split. Preventative maintenance is obviously a big pain point for everyone, and being able to automate and streamline that is one of the highlights of the system. So I'm excited to show you how we're going to do that. All right. So we are going to walk through our prototype now. And what this is really going to do is we're going to walk through a day in the life of facilities management. I like to frame this as a narrative to help you understand what this would really be like in your day-to-day. So there are some features that you won't see in this prototype that do exist, things like reporting and administrative settings, all of that. But we're really going to be talking through the workflows that we've built out here and walking through how those would be used in practice. So we're going to start here at the work order list. So this is where, let's say, your front desk folks would log in and see all of your active or completed work orders. So in this scenario, a guest reports a broken AC in room 302. So we're going to create a work order here. This is the modal that you'll see when you create a work order. It looks exactly the same on mobile as it does on the web. So no complication here. It's really straightforward. The only information that we need to get a work order started for you is the title, a short description, a priority, and a location. For the sake of this platform, when we talk about locations, we are talking about locations within the property, so guest rooms and common areas. There are optional fields here if you have optional information that you'd like tracked, such as asset. So if this is related to a specific asset in the room, you can tag it in here. Who it's assigned to, so you can assign this to one or multiple technicians. You can give it a due date, and you can attach any files that are relevant or photos. So we've marked this particular work order as urgent, and we've assigned it to our technician, Hank. Let's see what happens next. It appears here in the list. Now we see we've got an open work order, and Hank is going to get a push notification sent to his phone. So he knows now he's got a new work order, broken AC, it's been assigned to him. He can tap this notification here, and it's going to bring him right to the work order details. This is what the work order details page looks like on mobile. There is a status bar up here that you just tap to change the status as you go through. And you've got all of your information here. We're going to talk a little bit more about what you see in here when we come back in a moment. But first things first is that Hank opens this work order and he sees that there is an asset associated. So he's going to tap the asset's name, and it's going to bring him to the asset details page. On the asset details page, I really want to highlight some of the kind of tracking that we do for the objects within our system. So for both assets and locations, if you go to their detail page, and this is for an individual asset, so an individual appliance or an individual room or common area, you're going to be able to see the history of that object in one place. You're going to be able to see work orders that have been associated with it in the past or present. You're going to be able to see any maintenance schedules that have been associated with it. And for assets, all you need to create an asset in the system is this information you see up here. What property does it live at? What location does it live in? What is the type of asset that we're talking about? And there's an optional description if you want to give some more information about it. Once you put those fields in the system, you do not need to fill in anything else. However, if you'd like to track additional details about your assets, we have created a pretty comprehensive asset tracking system here. We can keep your identification information, your warranty information, including files. So if you want to upload the warranty itself, you can do that. Technical specifications, where you're able to also upload like manuals to be associated with the asset, and any vendor information. So these are all optional fields. It's up to you how much or how little you want to track about your assets. So once Hank gets into this asset details page, he is going to go over to the history and see if there have been any issues with this asset in the past. All objects in the system have a history log like this, where you're able to see the history of the object in our system from conception to now. So you're able to see who created it and when, if anything has happened since then, etc. That way you can start tracking some trends. So he sees here, this AC's had a few issues in the past. So he can go back to the details screen and he can see that there's been a video embedded here. So really easy if your technicians like to reference YouTube videos while they're making repairs. If there's a common issue for something, maybe like how to reset something that they have to do fairly often, or, something that breaks more often than some other problem, they are able to embed a video here to watch directly within the app so they don't have to go looking for it when it's time to make a fix. So Hank goes back to the work order. He watched that video to make a repair. He's going to add some photos here to show that it's been fixed. He can also take photos beforehand as well if he wants to show what it looked like when it was broken. And then he's going to add a comment here just saying what happened. If Hank were to mention a colleague in these comments, they would get a notification as well. So they know, hey, someone mentioned you in a comment, come look at this. That way they can keep each other informed. Work orders have this history tab as well. So he's now going to hit complete. He fixed the issue. Just for everyone's reference, if someone is trying to mark a work order as on hold or complete, they will be prompted to give a reason. That way, the resolution is tracked. Like, why are you completing this? Did it get fixed? Did we have to call in a vendor, etc.? And nobody is just putting them on hold or marking them as complete by mistake as well. There's kind of like a validation process there. So he finished up his work order. He's going to move on to his PMs for the day. This is what it will look like when you're going to look at PMs in the mobile app. These are the 2 active schedules that he has going on right now. He's going to tap into this pool equipment inspection PM. And this is what you'll see when you look at the schedule itself. You'll be able to look at previous instances of the schedule. You'll be able to review details. You'll be able to see how many locations have been completed so far that are associated with the schedule, how much progress you've made. And then here you'll see the list of locations associated with this PM. So, for example, if you were doing quarterly room maintenance, all of the guest rooms would be listed here and you'd be able to filter them by their status. We are going to tap into this pool/hot tub location. And Hank is going to see all the tasks that need to be completed in order to consider this PM complete. So he pulls these from the procedure library when the PM is being built. And that's one of those kind of administrative settings that we're not going to go into right now, but there's a whole management section in the app or in the web app where you're going to go through and set up your procedures, set up your PMs. So he's going to go down the list and complete each one of these tasks by tapping the check mark. And then once they're complete, he will mark the location as complete within the schedule. So in this scenario, while Hank was completing this maintenance at the pool, he found a pair of sunglasses. So he's going to move over to the logbook and he's going to make a lost and found entry. So our logbook is basically an activity feed for the property where folks can go make updates that will be visible to anybody you give access to. That way, when there's something that doesn't necessarily spark a task, so it's not something that we need to have a work order or a PM or anything like that about, but it's something that we want everyone to know about. So like a lost and found item or a vendor check-in, things like that, we are going to put them in the logbook. So this is what it looks like to create an entry. Very straightforward. All you need to create an entry is a title and a description, but you can also assign categories, locations, and if there's assets or work orders associated with this entry, you can associate them as well. You can add pictures and files to logbook entries. And if you do associate them with any other objects in the system, like these fields down here, they will appear in the object's history so that you can always reference this logbook entry. So he's finished all of that, and now he's going to move on to his daily tasks. So daily tasks are like those checklists of things that need to be done every day: sweep the lobby, check the supplies, etc. These are assigned by role versus assigned to an individual, since there's no one person who's working 7 days a week. So these tasks will appear in everyone's to-do list with a specific role based on what the task is assigned to. And whoever gets to it and completes it first, it marks it off for everybody else as well. So there's one left. He needs to check the maintenance supplies. So he's going to tap into that. It's going to bring him to the daily task details, where he'll be able to take a photo or add a comment if there's anything notable about this particular task. and then he can complete it by tapping the check mark. Those are all his tasks for the day. So once his day has ended, a Daily Digest email will be sent out to anybody who is assigned the permission to receive it. So that can be your GMs, your facilities managers, anyone at the corporate level, where it's just going to give them a high-level overview of what happened that day. So what work orders had activity, how are the PMs going, how many locations are complete, are any of them overdue? You'd see a little icon there if they were. How much of your daily tasks got completed, which ones did not, and the logbook title entries for the day. Eventually, we will have a dashboard that shows these as well, but for folks who don't want to log in and have to look at this right now, they can see it right from their phone if they get an email. And that is it for the prototype. So as I mentioned, there's some things that you're not going to see there. Just settings and reporting. I know those are things that are important to everybody. If you do want a more in-depth demo to see those additional features, I'd be happy to get on a call and do that for you as well. So I want to talk through the key features here, especially as it relates to what we have today versus what we're going to have in the future. So we're going to market with our work order functionality, automated PM schedules, daily tasks, asset and location management, reporting, and our logbook. Some of the features that you can look forward to seeing within the next few months or year include in-app chat and group messaging, integration with accounting and labor modules so that your data can flow seamlessly between them, portfolio level dashboard, brand compliance templates pre-populated into the system so that you can pick inspections and other procedures that are compliant with your brand without having to enter them manually. Multi-language support for the mobile app, so that way it can detect the user's native language and display all of the prompts, the system level prompts in their language. Inspection workflows, so they'll be very similar to PMs, but have more specific actions related to inspections, like passing and failing items and automated work orders from those pass-fail items. Smart asset capture, which I'll talk about in a moment. QR code location management, where folks can scan a QR code in a room to get all of the data without having to look it up in the app. And guest issue reporting. So another QR code based feature where guests will be able to scan a QR code somewhere within the room and automatically create a work order without needing to contact anyone. And over here, you see a screenshot of kind of what the logbook looks like. So we've got another question. Which two features would you be most excited to see or would make you more motivated to try to adopt this new facilities platform? Responses are still rolling in, so we'll let you guys work through that.
Yeah, this one I feel like you have to think through. So
Yeah,
it
for
take a
sure.
little longer, a lot more to read. Yeah. We have about 50% so far. I'll give it another second or two.
Yeah, and this one's really important. So if you haven't answered the ones before, if you don't answer any after, this is the one.
Definitely, definitely. All right, it's slowed down, so I'm going to go ahead and show it.
Sure. So these pretty much line up with what I expected to see. We are actively working on those inspection workflows right now. So that's probably the first one of these things you're going to see out there in the world, as well as kind of integration with inflow accounting. We're exploring how we're going to make that happen for y'all. Guest issue reporting, I am surprised to see that one so high up there. It is definitely going to streamline things. We would love to be able to help automate more of your processes and get that touch point of kind of forcing a guest to reach out to somebody who then also has to go and create the work order. So that makes a lot of sense. Perfect. Okay, great. All right. So that was everything from me in terms of just wanting to talk through the platform, show you guys what we've got right now, and get some feedback on what you'd like to see added.
Yes, and this QR code, if you scan it, or if you just want to reach out to your customer success manager, feel free to do so. We will connect with Maria and we can answer and go through any other questions you have about the module itself. So we'll give it another few seconds just in case you want to capture that QR code, but I will also be sending a recording after the call with this webinar, and the QR code will be embedded into the email so that you can also scan it after the fact as well.
Yep. And like I mentioned before, if you have any additional questions about the module, if you want a more in-depth walkthrough of kind of how it works, how to set it up, things like that, before you make a decision as to whether or not you'd like to kind of test this out, I'm more than happy to get on a call and do that kind of one-on-one chat with y'all. So please, feel free to reach out and we can do that anytime.
Awesome. So now we're going to move into the Q&A portion. So again, feel free to raise your hand. I'll unmute you, or you can write your questions in the chat. Just to answer one that we had from Michelle during the call that I answered in the chat, but just so everyone here is aware, are you accepting test hotels for this application? So Facilities has been thoroughly tested with a handful of beta customers over the summer. So it is now available for all inflow clients to use and leverage. And like I said, we have this QR code. If you are interested in discussing facilities for your organization, it'll connect your CSM with you to discuss this further and schedule a call with Maria. The next question we have is, can you advise what the costs are to add on this application? If you reach out to your CSM, we can share pricing with you via email and supply you with that information. Any other questions for Maria? All right. I don't see anything coming through. So just in conclusion, as I mentioned, I will be sending a follow-up email to everyone on this call. It'll have a link to a knowledge base article that hosts this recording. And I'll also send over a one-pager as well as the prototype for you to take a look at or share with your colleagues. We did have a question come through. What is the average implementation timeline for facilities management? Maria, do you want to take that one?
Yep. So it really is going to depend on how in-depth you want to get with the platform. So there's one step that cannot be skipped, which is setting up your locations. So setting up the rooms and the common areas so that you can associate your work orders and PMs with those locations. I would say that that's something that takes a couple of hours up front of probably your GM's time or your head of facilities to go in and make sure that we have the names of your rooms all correct and that you've put in your common areas. So that's a few hours up front. I would say no more than maybe 2 hours max to set that up. And then again, now it's going to depend on how in-depth you want to get with your implementation. So if you're someone who you want to track all of your kind of expensive appliances and assets in the system in detail, that's going to take a while for you to set up. My advice for folks is always track the 5 most expensive things that require the most maintenance first, and then add assets into the system as you go. And the same with your procedure library. So the procedure library will take some time to set up depending on how many procedures your property has. So if the only thing that you want to do in your PMs is quarterly room maintenance and maybe, 1 or 2 other big schedules, it won't take you too long. You'll go in, you'll put those procedures in the library, you'll set up the schedules, and you'll be good to go, probably an hour or 2. But if you have dozens of procedures, dozens of PMs that you keep on a pretty strict schedule, it probably will take you a couple of days to get those all set up, depending on how much time you have to dedicate to it. So we've tried to make the system as flexible as possible in terms of folks who, your main concern is making sure you've got your work orders and you're tracking the history of your rooms, how often they're being worked on and things like that. But if you want to go all the way with it and you want to maximize the value that the module can provide you, it'll probably take you a week or two to really get set up.
Yeah, and similarly to accounting and labor, if you've gone through those implementations, we've been mindful of trying to, save time. So we do have import files we've made that hopefully consolidate the process and make it easier. So it should be as seamless as it can be for how nuanced the process is going to be inevitably.
Yep,
Um,
bulk import exists
yeah.
for locations, assets, etc. So, yep.
Yeah. And I think one thing you mentioned that I like is when you have to do like a mass add of either of those, you can just re-import the template and it's not going to duplicate everything you already have imported. So that makes it easy. We have two more questions. Can you take pictures of issues found to help relay the information on the work order?
Yes. So you can take pictures directly from the app, um, and they will be attached to the work order.
Awesome. And then are the work orders sent in an email or text, or do they need to log into the app?
So you will get a text message if you're opted into inflow text messages telling you have a new work order if one has been assigned to you specifically. And if you are logged into the app on your phone, you will also get a push notification. And I believe you will get an email notification as well if it's been assigned to you. So you won't get any of those if it's not assigned to you specifically. It's just basically to inform you that you have to go take an action. But you will get all three if you're opted into them and you want them.
Awesome. Hopefully that answered your question, Jesse and Michelle. Do we have any other questions before we conclude today's webinar? All right, awesome. Well, if any other questions arise after you have had a chance to digest the information, feel free to reach out. Like I said, I'll be sending over a follow-up. And Maria, thank you so much for being our guest speaker on this month's webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, have a great day. Bye.
Bye.